On our program last week, we spoke to children's author Mem Fox, and she was talking about the relationship between illustrators and writers. And in many cases, Mem Fox puts her stories out there. She doesn't even get to meet the illustrators. But my guest this morning is someone very, very special. Nina Rycroft is her name, and she's put out a book, but she has done all the illustrations herself. It is a marvellous book. It's a kid's book, and it's one of those books that if you gave it to a young person, they would treasure it forever. It's called Ballroom Bonanza. Nina, welcome to our program.
Oh, good morning. Hi, Kieran.
Nina, are you an illustrator first before a writer? When you tell people what you do, are you an artist first and then a writer, or both?
No, I'm definitely an illustrator first. But I think they're both the same, like different forms of storytelling, but definitely illustrator comes first.
Tell me about some of the other things that you've illustrated. Tell us about your career as an artist.
Well, I studied graphic design, so I guess you could say I was self-taught with illustration. I sort of learned as I went. And I didn't actually call myself an illustrator until my fourth book. So, it's just a slow progression. I guess lots of mistakes and just learning from them. And I guess just slowly finding my own personal style with that.
Well, it's absolutely beautiful, and I'll describe some of the pictures in just a moment for our listeners, Nina. But in terms of illustrating, how did you get your first gig as an illustrator?
I came up with an idea. So I'm full of ideas, but I hadn't done a book before, so I did like storyboards because of my graphic design background. I did storyboards for a story called Little Platypus, and I sent it to maybe 50 or 60 publishers, and probably one of them was interested in the story, and then they got a writer to write the story for the storyboard, and then I went from there, really. Yeah.
That's amazing. So 50 or 60 publishers, but only one nibble.
Yes. Yeah, it's quite tricky to get started. And I've been doing it for 10 years, so it's not like it's quite a long process with each book as well. So it's a nice steady pace.
So those first 4 stories that you illustrated, were they all for different writers?
Yes, they were. Yeah, they were. And I've only met 2 of the writers out of the 4. So yeah, all different styles. I've worked with 2 different publishers, and yeah. I guess they have a good idea of what they want the book to look like.
It's an interesting process, Nina, because as I was mentioning before, I was talking to Mem Fox on our program last week, and I'd spoken to Mem before, but she's just put out her latest book, and it was basically a fairy story with these very old-style illustrations that backed up her words, and she described the process as a writer of being like a child on Christmas morning when you go to your stocking and find out what's in it, and she says the thrill of actually seeing your words brought to life is just one of the biggest thrills that she ever has. She says it really makes her career, and that's what she loves so much. But it's strange that writers don't often get to meet the illustrators.
Yeah.
Now, you've taken the big step forward to tell a story yourself, and you've co-written it. You've actually co-wrote it with, I'm trying to find
Harris. Yeah.
Stephen Harris. Tell us how the story came about, because this is a story that's very, very much connected with you and your family.
That's right, yeah. About 4.5 years ago, my son was quite young. He was a baby, and he wasn't going to sleep very well at night. I was watching Dancing with Stars, and my husband's parents came from Blackpool, and they were telling me a story about Tommy Jones, my husband's grandfather. And he used to play music, and he was a composer at the Tower Ballroom in Blackpool. And I thought, wouldn't it be fantastic to have the Ballroom Dance Championship with an animal alphabet kind of theme, and have Tommy Jones sort of play music through the story. So it all sort of came together in a couple of weeks. And then I was just bursting with the ideas in my head, and I just had to write it down, and it sort of all came together quite quickly.
Tommy Jones, bandleader, he was actually at Blackpool at the Tower Ballroom for 3 decades, I understand.
Yeah, 1947 to 1978 he worked there. So he played music with Tommy Jones and the Tower Band, and then he was a composer and with the big bands there, playing at all the ballroom championships as well as other stuff.
Now, this is also connected with your love of dance as a child as well, Nina.
Yeah. I did a Gene Wilmot dance troupe, and we used to dance in between, the South Pacific's ballroom championships. We used to do all the dancing in the intermission, and so we'd be backstage, and we'd have all these costumes and feathers sort of sweep past us, and it was quite amazing when you're little and you've got all this colour and feathers, and we used to collect all the sequins and things. So all of that, all those memories of all those of the glamour and the lights and the big teeth and the dark skin and all the fancy hairdos and dresses. It was just so much imagery from my memory of being a dancer.
Nina, you've obviously drawn on that imagery very much in your illustrations, because the paintings, well, they don't even seem like illustrations, because each individual double page as you open it up it's eye-poppingly colourful, and instead of course, human dancers, you have all of the animals, whether they be cheetahs or elephants or the whole animal kingdom's in there dancing in your book. How long did it take you to illustrate each page?
I'd say between 40 and 50 hours on average. So, and that's just the colouring in part of it. So before that, I'd give another 10, 12 hours for each page as well. Yeah.
So we're really talking about nearly 2 weeks' work for a page illustration.
Yeah.
And that's 2 weeks constant work, of course. That's 2 weeks flat out.
Yeah. It's not. I don't look at it as work. Otherwise, it'd be. I enjoyed it, so I just got into the moment of it, and I just took to the journey of it. So it felt like it illustrated itself a lot of the time.
Well, this is all about trying to get your little bub Jamie off to sleep when you then turned up the TV volume and did some dances around the room, and your bub managed to get off to sleep. How old's Jamie now?
He starts school next year, so he's just about turning 5 next month. Yeah.
So tell me, what was that young child's reaction of seeing his mum's book for the first time?
He loves it. They're in and out of my studio all the time. This morning he was colouring in one of my pencil sketches that I had on the side there. He said, "Mum, can I paint it?" So I think it's a part of his life as well. And they kind of take it for granted too. They don't really understand the longer process, but they love it. They love the story time and books in general.
What's coming next from Nina? What's on the slate for you? I mean, this has been something that's taken you 3 or 4 years to realise, to not only to write it, but then to illustrate it, and it's out there, Ballroom Bonanza, it's out there that people can buy this, and it's one of those old-fashioned hardcover type books that I think children will treasure forever because of the pictures in it. What's next on the agenda for you?
Well, I've got a couple of books that are coming out. I've got No More Kisses by Margaret Wilde, and then I've got another beautiful book with the first year of a child. So very different to the animal theme, and much more heartfelt and intimate with that journey of the child's, first years. And then on a personal level, I would like to sort of experiment more with words and illustration, and just sort of come up with a few things. I've got a few ideas banging around in my head that I can't wait to get my hands on and a bit of time to put them to paper. Yeah.
What's so lovely about Ballroom Bonanza that I loved, Nina, and it got me in, even as an adult reader, when you hide things for children in the illustrations. And the book very cleverly introduces children to different musical instruments, and the very young ones will be able to pore over these pictures for ages to find the little hidden instruments that are there in the illustration. Is that important, do you think, to give your readers some work to do?
Oh, absolutely. When I've shown this to a few school kids, and they just, as soon as I say there's something hidden in those illustrations, they all crowd around and they're all looking for it. So it's definitely one of the highlights of the book.
Well, it's been a highlight talking to you, Nina Rycroft, and we wish you well in your career, and to be able to share those memories and to inspire young readers is so important, and it's just been lovely to have you with us on the program today.
Oh, thanks, Kieran. It's been really good. Thank you.
The author and illustrator of a brand new book called Ballroom Bonanza, and some Adelaide publishing company involved in that. So it's coming through South Australia to you, but it is one of those glorious books that the little kids will get hold of and they'll never